We're going to be doing something a little different today. I'm going to be looking at the Dungeons & Dragons Play Activity Survey that was released on the 1st of November, so it's currently the 2nd of November, and I'm going to be just going through the entire thing and giving the feedback that I can. So, let's have a look. Because Wizards of the Coast really do like their surveys in 5th edition, this one should take approximately 25 minutes if you're not recording it. It takes me about an hour because I did this previously, so I'm just going to go through my answers again. I don't think I'd submitted it before, though, because I was supposed to be recording it. And I had recorded the camera bit, but not the screen bit, so that's very good indeed. So, let's get started with the basics. What are your favourite character classes? Choose up to 3. Now, I've only actually had a chance to play 3 in proper practice in video games, and sort of like playing around with D&D Beyond, and sort of playing a bit with the starter set by myself when I first had that in like 2019 or 2018. I've played around with some of the different classes, but these one-shots that I'm attending with Group 89 have been a brilliant way of experimenting with different classes. Never did I think that I would actually enjoy playing a Paladin. I say that, I would always rather play a Paladin in a video game than a fighter, because they have mechanically more to do in Baldur's Gate, so that's good. But, I don't know. So, 3 favourite classes in D&D 5th edition. Okay, so let's go with the ones that I've played, first of all. So, Cleric and Warlock. The Cleric I really like. I could play a Grave Domain Cleric all day, every day, without any problems whatsoever. It might be a bit boring, but honestly, I'm fine with it. It's a safe choice. I'm really lucky to have ended up with that class. And it tends to be like the second class I think people play around with is like their favourite. We've noticed that in a one shot that we did previously, Something is Rotten in the City-State of Densmarch, where one of the players whose plays Eliza in the Lost Man of Vandelver, she's playing a fighter, and she now really likes wizards, so she's going to be playing a wizard next time, we think. I played a warlock in the tutorial arena, and it was okay, and sort of like seeing Shoria playing a warlock, I'm like, no, maybe warlock's not really for me. I think I'd rather be a cleric. But the third class, I haven't really sort of tinkered much with them in D&D Beyond and things like that, and looked up their abilities and such. I like the idea of the alchemist artificer, if only because they're the closest thing you can get to an alchemist without homebrewing it. And honestly, I much prefer the Pathfinder alchemist. So, I don't know, Bard, if I had the IRL charisma to pull it off, I probably would. Druid, I'd mained a Druid in World of Warcraft, but I don't know if I really like them enough in D&D. I like them at much later levels, based on what Critical Role has, but with Keyleth, but no, I'm not really a big fan of Druids myself. Fighters, I don't know, I think I'm still sore from playing Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, even though they have many more mechanics. I would only really play a fighter for the gunslinger. I have an idea for a character there, a rock gnome by the name of Commissar Lozkars, who's greatly inspired by Sharp and other such Napoleonic, I guess, TV dramas with a very low budget. The monk is honestly the class I think I have the least opinions on, positive or negative, because I don't know enough about them. I do like the idea of the drunken monk style. I don't know what it's called exactly, but the way they like the drunken fighter, that seems really cool. I think they do like a lot of dodging and weaving, and it's quite chaotic. I might like that. Paladins, I ain't got any problem with Paladins. I don't really have many strong practical opinions, rather opinions based on practice, whether they're better with their oaths or their alignments. I guess they're okay. Mechanically speaking, I like them. When our player Emil had used Smite to destroy like a Grick in a single blow, that was pretty awesome. And I would honestly want to have a paladin in my party just for Smite. But then it kind of means that you're not going to be using your spells that you get and all that kind of thing. Rangers, again, not really many opinions on them. Like, I don't know what their class fantasy is anymore, because there's a lot of stuff going on with them, especially like Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. There's now this Drake Warden class, and that makes them like really in tune with dragons, and it seems cool, but I don't know enough about them, and I don't know if 5th edition really sort of allows you to have that full on Dragon Rider fantasy and things like that. I don't know. These are the kind of things that I think deserve their own class in a way, or much more developed class kits or subclasses. Rogues, absolutely love the idea of the rogue, practically in love with all of their subclasses. There's something I really don't like is like half-caster, so I don't really like the Arcane Trickster subclass as such. I don't like the Eldritch Knight Fighter. It's like I'd prefer them to either be a full martial class with 0 magic spells, or a caster with all the weaknesses and strengths that come with that. I don't like how it's like in MMOs where like in World of Warcraft, every single character has ranged spells, healing spells, damage mitigation, all these kind of things, and they sort of homogenize. The Sorcerer, I main a Sorcerer in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, absolutely love them, but they're much more mechanically developed. I mean, all the classes are much more mechanically developed in 5th edition. They've got a lot more they can do. I like the idea of sorcery points. I like they get their subclass as well. I like a lot of the things about them. I think they're quite meaty mechanically. Warlocks, again, for the same reason I like Sorcerers, they get a lot. They get their Patron at level 1, they get their Eldritch Invocations at level 2, they get their Pact at level 3. That's the kind of thing that I want for all classes, where every single level gives you loads of choices to make. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that every Warlock is different as such, but I will say that they're a lot closer to them than most classes, I think, because they have to otherwise fit into these very, very sort of like round pegs in a square hole. And Wizards, they seem to be quite. Again, I think Wizards have always been quite good in D&D. I don't think they've ever been bad as such, and they've always had a lot of mechanics going on. So not much to say they're pretty awesome. The only reason why I didn't play a Wizard originally was like preparing spells. But I don't think that's so bad, and I think D&D Beyond has gone a ways to help that. We'll see how Path of Iron and Nexus helps with that as well. And I haven't spoken of the Barbarian. I love all of the Barbarian subclasses. I just wish there were more examples of how to be a Barbarian besides basically being like a Norse warrior. That's all they really give you. It's like I've seen some interesting archetypes like Nerd Rage, where when someone runs out of spells, they turn into a barbarian or something like that, or one example that I used for as like a samurai kind of person, manga. I guess like a manga or an anime protagonist. They turn their rage into like a focus, so they use their rage as a focus, as a means of honing, like performing like a better strike or well-armed strike than a reckless attack. And I don't know what they might take. They are going to try and fight the Oni, so perhaps they might even have some Oni blood within them and become a wild magic barbarian. That's something that our DM really wants to see for some of themselves. Maybe not at higher levels, though. It does seem quite weak, but still. I think that's all the classes covered. So, I mean, I really like Barbarian. It's like, if I had to play a martial class, it would be the Barbarian. I like the idea. I like all the ideas of all of these classes. It's just like Monk and Ranger I don't really know much about. I don't know if that's 5th edition's doing. I don't know if that's D&D. I don't know if it's even a problem. Maybe I just need to do some more reading on it. So, yeah. 3 favourite character races. I'm not going to spend as much time covering these. Aarakocra, I believe that's pronounced. Azamar, Bugbear, Centaur. I wouldn't mind trying to play a Centaur one day, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of problems that can come up. Like, for instance, like if you have to climb up a cliff face. Well, Centaurs aren't very good at that. I think they have a disadvantage on like climbing checks and acrobatics. I'm not sure. And it might be as well too powerful if you have someone on top of you, like shooting away or whatever. I don't know if even D&D's considered that. I mean, I suppose we've been out of combat rules. Anyway, as I said, I won't focus on these too much. Changelings I really like, if only for the +2 charisma. But the ability to change at Evan is really cool. Dhampir, that was one of my latest character concepts, like a Dhampir barbarian who would have Path of the Zealot with necrotic damage. Dragonborn I quite like. Dwarf, absolutely. Dwarf's one of my favourites. Elves, I can take or leave elves, half elves especially. Fairies, Fairballs, Ganassi, Gith, Gnome, Goblin. Oh, should I choose Goblin? I know what my other choices were, but I'll keep on going. Goliath. I love Grog Strongjaw. Half Elf, Half Orc, Halfling, Herringon, Hexblood, Hobgoblin, Human. I'm gonna be really boring and say, because of course I am. Of course I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say Human. I apologize for my compulsive right clicking. I like humans in fantasy settings. I know I'm really boring like that, but I like, and I especially like when they're done well, or when they're given something else. Like, what's it like to be a human in a world where everyone else is longer lived, where humans consume more resources to stay alive? What's it like to be, because of their shorter lives? What's their how do they treat life? Do they live every day like it's their last? Are they trying to find elixirs of immortality and things like that? Are they the dominant race? Are they less dominant? Are they a younger race? Are they an older race? What claim do they have to the worlds they're in? I very much like stories like that, but and hey, some games try to avoid that because it's a very complicated subject, I think. And of course I don't think many authors want to draw too many parallels to real life conflicts and things like that, so it's understandable. Kalashtar, I don't know much about them. Kenku, I like the idea of playing as a crow, as like a humanoid crow, or raven or whatever they are. I'm not an avian expert by any means. I mean, you have to be an expert to know, do you, I suppose. The idea of like being a humanoid bird creature, it's appealing, but the way their language works, I suppose that's something the DM would have to like house rule and say, no, you're not going to do mimicry. You're gonna talk like everyone else. And in that regard, I would play a Kenku, probably like Artificer, Alchemist, because of course I would a Plague Doctor. Kobolds, I like kobolds. Lizard folk, I could probably get behind lizard folk, to be honest. I haven't played one before. Minotaur, just have to move my third choice, I think. Orc, Reborn, Satyr, shifted to backseat. Very close replacement of Minotaur there. Tiefling, never really played Tieflings before. No, I just can't pull them off really now. Turtle, Triton, Warforged, and Yuan-Ti. I'm sorry, Yuan-Ti, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm pronouncing it Yuan-Ti. Did I say Reborn earlier? Reborn. Minotaur. I bought the monster manual just to know what the stat block for the Minotaur was, so I could basically play them. I realise, of course, that's not how monster races work as such. They were originally unearthed Arcana, I believe, and then they were added into Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, I believe, or Vola's Guide to Monsters. One of those books where you can get the races. And yeah, I bought it just for that, not realising, of course, that there is a book that's out or will be out that will feature the Minotaur as a playable race. So, and I haven't yet played one. I really want to, but I've learned the beast races are a bit difficult to pull off, and players may just be expected to wait outside the town, and that's not really good fun for a lot of players. It is for me, because I'm very much a beer and pretzels player. I mean, I don't drink beer or eat pretzels, but I'm just here to enjoy the ride, you know? So, so those are my three choices. I know, and I'm not just saying human because of the variant human, although that is a pretty big boon. Now, my other the DM that we're waiting on they've said that there's going to be a house rule where every race can have a level 1 feat. So if I had to get rid of, say, if it weren't for the variant human, I probably would choose another class. Another race. In which case, I would probably say maybe Goblin. In fact, I haven't played a Goblin yet, so I don't know how they work. But I've seen how they work, but I haven't played one and seen it for myself. So yeah, but otherwise I would maybe say half elf as well for mechanics. Dwarves, absolutely love dwarves. Minotaur, ever since playing a Tauren. In fact, ever since playing a dwarf in World of Warcraft as well, I've loved the dwarves. And yeah, that's it. Which D&D campaign settings do you prefer? Choose up to 3. Birthright, Dark Sun, Dragonlance, Eberron, Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, Homebrew, Mystara, Planescape, Ravenloft, Ravnica, Spelljammer, Theros, or other. I could choose up to 3. Birthright, if I understand it correctly, is one of the oldest settings. I believe it's like a very low fantasy, kind of like Arthurian legend kind of thing with virtually no magic whatsoever. Or it might actually be like historically accurate as well. kind of like how Warhammer did. Like there was like a historical battles one that was based on real battles and such, rather than just magic. So rather than like medieval status fantasy. Dark Sun, that is an apocalyptic setting. I'm definitely going to take that one. It's apocalyptic desert. A lot of people say it's like Mad Max. I think that's giving it. I think that's making it too jolly, especially if you're going by the later films. No, I think Dark Sun was like, it was a really horrid setting, like very, very grim. In fact, some of these had the potential to be really, really dastardly and vile. And I like that about them. I like these sort of really dark things, like grim dark. I don't mind the angst and pretentiousness of like things like Vampire, or older Warhammer and things like that. No, give me Dark Sun or give me death. But yeah, it was very much like imagine like the worst things about Fallout, the CRPGs. That's Dark Sun, and I have been tempted to get like the box. In fact, I might end up doing that unless I got the PDF. I don't know. Watch Dark Sun videos, like of sessions and like history. It's quite good stuff. Dragonlance, from what I understand, is actually quite. I think it's like a romantic fantasy, but with like a really dark twist. Like I think it's got a lot of like. There's a lot of hatred for non-human races like elves and dwarves, and I think it has the what are those like thieving gnomes, or like Kender. Like everyone hates these things called the Kender, I believe. I don't know, but yeah, Dragonlance seems like an interesting one. If there was a Dragonlance book, I would give it a read. I'm not overly familiar with it. There's a lot of novels for it as well. Eberron, I think, is like steampunk. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, steampunk kind of environment. Seems interesting enough. Yeah, not one of my favorites though. Forgotten Realms, generic fantasy, easy to work with. I'll choose that. There's loads of material as well, and it's pretty much become the default setting of 5th edition. You know, if you get a book that's in any other setting, chances are it's in its own. You know, it's in its own brand, like Eberron, Rising from the Last War, or Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron. You know, you've got Curse of Strahd and Van Richten's Guide to the Ravenloft. Those books are very much for their own settings, really, for their own respective settings. I mean, I suppose they can be used in other things as well. You got the upcoming Critical Role book in addition to the previous one, and Tal'Darai as well. I think was the first book Critical Role published. Greyhawk, I do believe, was one of the creators, Dave Arneson. It was his sort of homebrew setting. I don't know anything about that, much like Birthright or Dragonlance, but it's like one of those really old ones. Homebrew, created from elements from one of our published campaign setting? No. Homebrew, created from scratch. Warcraft books. The Warcraft RPG, I mean, it's not really homebrew as such. They were published by Sword and Sorcery. They were the White Wolf arm of publishing. They also did a few Ravenloft stuff. I'm sure they did other things as well. But yeah, I guess that would be maybe one. That was 3.5 editions, a 3rd edition revised. Pretty good stuff in there. They also did a World of Warcraft RPG as well, and loads of books for it as well. Yeah, and if anything they could make any money from, I think they did, for the content of the time. So homebrew, I have created homebrew stuff. Well, I say created. It's in my head. I have to actually pin it down, and I have attempted it multiple times in the past, and it's gone awry. So no, Mystara, I don't know anything. I know the name, I don't know what it is. Planescape, I'm only familiar with it through Spoonie's Tale, he might come up a few times, of the Lady of Pain, don't mess with her, and Planescape Torment as well, which is argued oftentimes to be one of the best written role-playing games of all time, indeed one of the best video games of all time, but I need to play a bit more before I make that judgment. Ravenloft is absolutely going to be one of my favourites. I would choose Ravnica, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I haven't played anything in it. From what I understand, it's like a very politically intrigue-driven story and zone, and you have to know quite a bit of the lore. And it's from Magic the Gathering as well. I like it because I think that's the setting with the Minotaurs in it. I believe that's the setting. Yeah, I think it's the other settings I was thinking, like goblins and orcs and bugbears that you can have. But I believe Minotaurs are playable in Ravnica or Ravnica. I don't know how it's pronounced. Ravnica, whatever. And there's the Loxodon as well. A few other races as well. I've forgotten they're in it, but it's quite a damn fine setting, I think. I'm gonna buy that book and read it. Spelljammer, Theros. I think Spelljammer's like sort of very pulpy, science fantasy in space. I don't know. Theros. I thought that was a Forgotten Realms location. Theros. I'm sorry, I have no idea. But yeah, Spelljammer. Yeah, I don't know. Other. I don't really think I'm gonna say Warcraft. No, I ain't got any other books that could be based anywhere, I don't think. No. What is your favourite D&D campaign setting? Oh, God. Like, okay, again, Dark Sun, because it's really apocalyptic, but I haven't played anything in it. Forgotten Realms, I could say Forgotten Realms because it's easy to run an adventure in there, I think. Ravenloft, though, I think has a lot more lasting appeal. It started out as like this, like Silver Age of cinema horror. So like Count Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, all those kind of things from the black and white films. And then I think it's become more and more like a gothic adventure, and I think basically with Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, it's become like Scooby-Doo, which works for me fine. I don't mind whatever incarnation of D&D Ravenloft's in, as long as I get to see it one day. So I would say Ravenloft. I've enjoyed reading the Curse of Strahd adventure, and I look forward to playing it one day. Yeah, it's quite good. Why is Ravenloft your favourite setting? I like the atmosphere. I like the gothic horror elements of this world. I do. Nostalgia. I feel nostalgia for Ravenloft. I can't really say nostalgia. I would say that I've looked at older modules. I've read bits of them. I've come across them in Tales, but I can't say I have any personal stakes in Ravenloft. Immersive. I think that the story and world are immersive and draw the players in. Interesting lore and world. Interesting lore and characters. The lore and characters of the world are interesting. I don't know why this sentence needed to follow, but never mind. Yep, I agree with that. Lethal consequences. I like there are serious consequences for player actions. I'll give them that. There's also the Tarokka deck as well. Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to take that because I haven't played it, so I don't know. Titamorphos story. I'm going to tick that box based on what I've read, because it does seem like... I know it's like a sandbox, but the stories within that sandbox, the little pockets of areas you go to, they're all brilliantly designed, I find. Intricate details, there is so many, absolutely. I don't think there's anything else I really want to add. Have you ever played Dungeons & Dragons tabletop RPG? Typically play with dice, rule books, character sheets, etc. Now, this is what got me before. They underlined tabletop RPG, and I'm just thinking, as opposed to what? Because I thought, okay, is this referring to physical or digital tabletops? Or virtual tabletops, VTT. Well, I didn't realise that it actually means the latter. It means physical and virtual tabletops, not video games, because it has its own little thing for that later on, which I'm really pleased with. I'm glad that they haven't been forgotten. I'm glad that they this survey does appeal to other people. So yes. When is your age? 28 years old. When did you start playing tabletop D&D? When I started playing, okay, and it was about then, I think. So yeah, tabletop. Otherwise, I would have said second edition because of AD&D second edition. Yeah, I would have played second edition with Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale video games, or maybe even older editions with older video games on GOG that I can't remember. Like I remember Eye of the Beholder, and that was it. When was the last time you played 5th edition within the last week? Excellent session as always. Played my Paladin then. How important are the following when you play Dungeons and Dragons? Overcoming challenges with careful decision making. I have resolved a problem where I had confessed to my DM that I am a compulsive metagamer. I will read adventures to get an edge over the DM, and that's kind of where I realised that I have a problem when I said I have an edge over the DM. The whole point of D&D is not to be adversarial, it's meant to be a cooperative effort. And by all means, yes, it should be the DM's monsters versus the player's creatures, but it should never be about the players versus the DM as a person. So yes, overcoming challenges with careful decision making is extremely important to me, absolutely. This is why when I review the adventures that we've done so far, I've currently got a script ready for the Sword of the Ember Knight adventure. I'm going to say that, look, there's not very checks that a DM has to make in this. It leaves a lot of legwork to the DM. And that the next adventure that I played, Something is Rotten in the City of State of Densmarch, is really good for that. It's really meaty, and for that I give it a much higher rating. Bonding over a shared experience with my play group is extremely important, absolutely. I am always, I'm just there to be along for the ride. I love D&D, and I take it very seriously, and I take my group seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. Characters, monsters that are beautifully illustrated in the books, very important. This is going to be like a weird criticism, but I have been turned off and turned on by RPGs based on their art style. It's a really weird complaint, but when I look at the cover of a book, I want to imagine that's the kind of imagery that's in my mind. That's the art style that's in my mind's eye. Yeah, and it's really important that the artwork is really good, because if it's not, I'm not going to be overly pleased with. I don't really want to play that game because I imagine it in my mind and it's not quite the same. Yeah, so an art style, even for a tabletop game, is important to me. I do believe that artists should be given the proper time to do that. Like I saw one time there was several artists who had worked on the Shadowrun artwork for like the latest edition, and they said that they were given like 12 hours to come up with something, and these ridiculous deadlines for rubbish commissions and wages and that, and yeah. And it's no wonder that the artwork in some of these books is just utter rubbish, because the artists aren't given the proper resources to do it. And you can tell, once you know things like that, you can tell how long someone has had to spend on the artwork of a game. And that's good. That's good. I want the artists to be given not just time to do it, but also I want the art to look good. And as a result of that, they need time to do it, and it'll look good. Anyway, maximizing combat performance by carefully optimizing attributes and gear. I don't personally care for this myself. I do read the adventures, or I did read the adventures. I've now been asked to stop. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't really mind. Like, I will pass up gear quite easily if someone else in the party can use it, because I'm just happy there to be there. I'll only really want gear if I know that I'm going to put it to better use, or I know that I'm going to put it to better use, or I know that I'm going to be the best person to use it. Yeah, it's like I think about it from like a sort of like a graph point of view, almost. Like I don't want there to be like a massive drop in power somewhere. I want there to be a nice even line of power. I want the line to go further and further up. So maximizing combat performance by it's not really something I do. It's something other people might do, and I want my other party members to do it, to absolutely optimize the hell out of things, so that we can all survive. But at the end of the day, you can't really beat the dice as such. You can't beat what's written in the book, and you can't beat how the dice are going to land. Leading the group doing gameplay is no. I enjoyed it for the one shot that I did, and even then that was more because I was the only person with a sword and a shield and martial weapon competency. So I enjoyed it once, but I wouldn't want to do it any more than that one shot. Like every couple of one shots I might do it, but no. Using miniatures in D&D gameplay, only slightly important. I don't really fancy Theatre of the Mind combat myself. I'm autistic. I like structure. I like guidance. I like to know where my characters are in battle. In the other gameplay, in the other two pillars of the game, I don't need miniatures for social interaction. I don't need miniatures for exploration. In combat, though, absolutely. Creating characters with detailed personalities, it's extremely important. And I do mean this, I love, let's just get onto my D&D Beyond page. That was my first character I made, by the way. Goric Stormspear Druid. I have how many characters? 28 characters on D&D Beyond. That's after purging the ones that I knew I wasn't going to play. Yeah. So it's very important to me. But this is also feedback for D&D Beyond, or rather D&D, Wizards of the Coast themselves. I want better character creation. I really do. It's why I've backed the Level Up Advanced 5th Edition book being published by EN World, because that's the kind of stuff in there that I want to create a better character. And the thing is that the answer is basically to play Pathfinder, which I don't really like, but at the end of the day, when Pathfinder gets the brand recognition that D&D gets, which is virtually unlikely, virtually impossible to unlikely. But yeah, being a powerful hero to defeat villains and monsters, it's very important to me, actually. Yeah. One of the things I don't like about D&D, I think it's 5th edition as well. This might be a complaint that's specific to D&D 5th edition, is that levels don't really matter as much. Like I think back in the day, I think if you said that you made it to 17th level, you didn't. It's not that you started an adventure at 15th like you can in this edition of D&D. And maybe it's just that no one had thought of that before. And in a way, I do like the flexibility of D&D today, where you can choose. There's so many adventures that start in different tiers and brackets, so you can start at level 1 and go to 5, or you can start an adventure that starts at 5 and ends at 15, or you can have a one shot that begins at level 17 or 20 or 3. Yeah, and I think that's good. I think in a way that's quite good. I personally though prefer you start at level 1 and you go to level 20, and that is a status symbol in that game's world, or that, or in the community, let's say. But I realise saying status symbol about D&D, and we're all nerds, probably doesn't mean all that much, so forget it. Creating my own adventures and campaigns is slightly important. I like having the resources and inspiration to do that. But it's not really like my cup of tea as such. Like, in a way, I actually like that our DM is working on this really elaborate homebrew setting. They've been working on D&D and Lancer, another RPG, because I can't cheat at it. Because if there's no modules for me to read, I can't cheat. That's good. No, I really am looking forward to seeing what they've got. At first, I was a bit skeptical, but I've come to know this player and the group I'm with, and I look forward to it. I really do. Introducing new players to D&D is extremely important, but not just introducing them, keeping them. I don't think D&D makes anywhere near as much money retaining new players as it does just introducing them. But I sort of say this of like World of Warcraft, where it's like it's alright introducing people, but if you don't keep them, eventually everyone in the world will have played World of Warcraft. And yeah, and I think that's the same with D&D. That if you don't give people a good impression of D&D, you're gonna run out of new players. So that's why I think it's important that everyone has a good first impression. I'm really glad that I did. I had a fantastic first impression. I thought that the person I told I was cheating at D&D with, our current DM, I didn't think I was going to get on with him at first. But for me to confide in him that much is a pretty good development, I would say. How important the following when you play D&D? Being part of a fun group activity. It's extremely important. D&D is a group game. Okay, so of course that's going to be important. Helping others to learn how to play D&D is extremely important. I love knowing how other classes work. I love being corrected in this game. And I love how I love when I can tell someone else something new about how my class works, or how maybe even their class works. No, I don't mean to be snooty or anything like that, but yeah. Taking charge of the team design how to proceed. No, it's not my thing. Cool. I like it when someone eventually decides for us or puts a suggestion that's pretty much foolproof. But yeah, researching rule books online to optimize skill class combinations. I like researching. I love reading the books, as you know. Very important. Yeah, I'd say it's somewhat important, because I don't want to optimize class skill combinations. I want to read the adventure so I know what's going up, so that I can be a better role player, so that I know, as I'm prepared for it, I can rehearse it in my mind. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I have to do the conversation in real life. I'm gonna do it for a game that requires as much role play as this. That's why I cheat. Creating a homebrew world campaign setting. It's slightly important. Again, it's something I like to do, but I have already tried to create this massive elaborate setting, and it doesn't work for me anyway. Having large collections of miniatures and/or genuine terrain are slightly important. In fact, somewhat important. Yeah, it's like I like making I like going on Hero Forge and making all the miniatures and the avatars and such and the. And indeed, I do have my World of Warcraft miniatures game and Skylander figures in case I DM for my partner one day and we maybe have some friends. We might make some friends by then. We might not do. We might have to play 3 characters each. We shall see. But yeah, it's like I would like for there maybe to be more miniatures and a lot less random packs as well, because they have these booster packs as well for different games, like Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, Baldur's Gate, Descent to Avernus. I think Icewind Dale has some. Ravenloft, I think, has some as well. But yeah, and the thing is you can get them you can get unofficial minis for way cheaper. There's a place called like Warlock minis or something like that. But I'll have to find out. But they seem to do some really cool ones for different games as well. Identifying creative ways to solve creative challenges and solutions. I'm going to say very important. I'm not going to put that up too high because I know what the Tomb of Horrors consists of. And I know what their idea of creative ways to solve challenges and obstacles is. At least the 5th edition Tomb of Horrors. I don't know if the original is better and more, or rather I should say more clearly written. But still. The rulebooks and guides feature amazing artwork. Again, I've said is very important. Creating elaborate backstories for my characters. It's somewhat important. I'm getting better for writing shorter and shorter stories. I just want to get straight to the point and make it quite clear to a DM. They can look at it at a glance and say, okay, I know what your character's trying to achieve. I know what I can include in my game for them to do, for them to move on, or for them to have a moment. Accumulating powerful weapons, spells, and artifacts is slightly important. I would prefer crafting rules, or more alternative crafting rules. Because every time people suggest new crafting rules in this game, someone always says they can't appeal to everyone. And that's true. I would like them to try and cover as many bases as possible. And give DMs more ideas on how to make crafting and tinkering rules. That's one of the skills I would really like to see in this game, a crafting or tinkering check. Rather than just going on your character sheet and trying to do it that way. Or saying, have you got proficiency in those tools? Have you got those tools? Then no, you can't. So, anyway, I'm sorry I'm blathering. That's a video for another time, or maybe indeed an article, I'll have to say. How are you introduced to D&D? A friend or family introduced me to it. A store owner, employee recommended it. This isn't going to. This isn't going to apply to me. I live in Yorkshire. There are not many gaming stores in Yorkshire. The most there are, I think, are like 3 in Sheffield, and they're like board game cafes. And whether they play D&D or not, or whether they'll allow you to, I don't know. There's like, I think there's like 1 gaming store in Barnsley, and I think there's Patriot Games in Huddersfield, but I think they're mostly geared towards Magic the Gathering, and it's like tournament play. So I don't know. I'd like to go to a game store and play D&D. I mean, I wouldn't even mind running one, but I wouldn't know how. Of course, I would say what I say to anyone on Fat Logic is, hey, look, just Google it. If you know what the question is, Google it. Google the answer. So, it wasn't a friend or family. It wasn't store owners or employees. I haven't seen it played in a store. A celebrity or online personality that I liked played or mentioned it. Yeah, I got into Countermonkey after watching the reviews, the Spoonie Experiment, and yeah, I really like the stories of D&D and other games, and that's how I eventually got into D&D, and how I know some of the things I do about role playing, but I've swiftly forgotten them. I think I'm going to watch those videos again before the upcoming one shot on Saturday. I saw it played it at a convention. No chance of that. I saw an ad for it. If I saw an ad for D&D in 4th edition, I definitely would not have played it. Like, the way the venom in those adverts is like, yeah. I mean, and that was the ones about video gamers as well. There's apparently a lot of bad marketing for fourth edition. They really shot themselves in the foot with that. I saw books box in a store. This is another complaint as well. You don't see many books or box sets for D&D in stores. Like if you go to we have one bookstore in the UK, and that's Waterstones. Unless you go to like family-run bookstores, antique bookstores, things like that. They're all wonderful. There's quite a few of them, but you have to go into like the tourist cities. There's a few in Scotland, but York we went to, Bristol, Weston-super-Mare we went to. But yeah, if you're looking for D&D stuff, you either have to go to second-hand shops, charity shops, or you have to. And there's nothing wrong with. I worked in a charity shop, but yeah, like when it comes to second-hand, it's like if you want to buy it new and I guess support the developers, if you want to buy something new, you have to go to Waterstones, and you can buy 2 products there. You can get the starter set, not the essentials kit. You can get the starter set, or you can get the Stranger Things starter set. That's it. That's your lot. And honestly, I think it's appalling. I think I once saw like the player's handbook and the monster manual and the dungeon master's guide in there, but that was way before I was playing D&D. I think that was like when 5th edition was brand new. And it's with the board games, and I just like, come on, Wizards, you can do better than this, surely. You know, you could put the latest books in there, only a couple, and just if you build it, they will come. So yeah, I saw books boxed in the store. It is true that I've seen them, but they are very rare. I saw it being played on a TV show or movie. I don't know which ones, but I have. I saw a review. I think it was actually Spooner's review of that film with Tom Hanks, Mazes and Monsters. I believe the game was called in that. I don't know what the film was called unless it was Mazes and Monsters. This guy who believes that he's actually in a game of D&D IRL. Yeah, and like one of those Satanic Panic films, like the Chick Tracts, I believe as well, like the sort of comics. There's mini comics about some like people who get into devil worship through D&D and such. It was dead fun. Yeah, that's actually a thought. I'm genuinely surprised it hasn't said here the Satanic Panic. In fact, no, I'm not genuinely surprised. Wizards know better, I think. I think being the key word. I watched or listened to a game being played online. Now, I heard of Critical Role. I didn't realise Acquisitions Incorporated was a game that was running before D&D. I thought that was just like Penny Arcade had reached out to D&D and they wrote an adventure. But apparently, from what I gather from this survey, Acquisitions Incorporated was indeed a like a Penny Arcade run game, and then they wrote a book on it, so that's good. Or rather, Wizards, they wrote a book on it. Anyway, so no, I didn't watch Critical Role until I got into playing D&D. I'm currently on campaign 1, only a few episodes in, but very much enjoying it. I saw it on social media. I have seen it on social media. I was introduced to a club or school in my community. No chance of that here in the UK. At least in my school, I should say. I played a branded digital game first. Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. I'm really glad they haven't forgotten us video game players, because I was under the impression that they didn't really care much for computer gamers. And if this survey cares about no one, it's everyone. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway. About how long after your introduction to D&D did you first play your first tabletop D&D game? More than a few months later. I got my D&D box set in 2017 or 18, I think it was. Maybe 2019 the latest. The starter set on my shelf. And, yeah, it's not until about July this year that I actually met Altroll and the Discord community there and Group 89. And I'm really fortunate for them. They've got a YouTube channel up now, so with any luck they'll get more traction, fingers crossed. They've got over like 1,500 members now, so that's good. Not active members, but still. About how long after your introduction to D&D did you purchase or receive your first D&D book or box set? God almighty. More than a few months later. I don't know why this one's greyed out. Like, have I clicked earlier that I own it? I could just be using someone else's stuff. I don't know. because that's really quite common. I think that you have someone who buys all the stuff, or you contribute to that person to pay for it, and then you all gather around their table or whatever. Which of the following did you play first? Play D&D, bought or received a D&D box set. Yeah, book or box set. Yeah, I did that one first. Which is the first tabletop product you ever owned? Tabletop product. I was going to say the video games. The Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, the box set, the starter set. I haven't bought any supplemental. Oh no! I'll tell you how I got into D&D. It was RP in World of Warcraft. Someone recommended that I buy the some of the books there. I didn't know which books. I didn't know which edition. I think it was like 4th edition at the time was relevant. I don't think D&D 5e was out at the time. I think it was D&D Next back then. And yeah, I bought the book. I bought a book, read it, dead enjoyed it. And that was some of the ways that people resolve skill checks in World of Warcraft RP. They roll D20 and stuff, so that was interesting. So yeah, I'd actually bought, I think it was the 3.5 Player's Handbook. I don't know exactly. It might have been, no, I think it was 4th edition now. Yeah, I think it was the 3rd edition Player's Handbook, but yeah. I'm going to say for the sake of argument, when it comes to 5th edition, it was the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, and the box set. I bought those three to try and make the Lost Man of Phandelver, playing by myself before I play with anyone else, more exciting, and see if I could add things and learn how to DM that way. I know I was sad and lonely. The difference now is that I'm not lonely, so that's good. What was the first tabletop product you ever owned? Physical, yes. Digital, both. Yeah, it was physical. Because D&D Beyond, I don't think was around at the time when I bought those. D&D Beyond, at least all the character creation and the books and things like that, they weren't out, or I don't think they were. I think they might have been in beta or something like that. What was the first 5th edition tabletop D&D product you owned? The Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, the core rules. I'm reading all the things that were all up there. First, I mean, it's the same Monster Manual, those, and that. So, yeah. Yep. I would later go on to buy dice, lots of dice, bagfuls of dice, but I realise now that I don't need them because I play digitally. And while my DM and one of our players is using dice themselves, I prefer to use D&D Beyond. That's the thing. Like I say that I cheat and that I used to read the, well, I guess still do anyway. I'm trying to wean myself of it. Like I would read the adventures, but you know what? If I had to roll physical dice and I rolled too high too early, I would roll it again because it would be too high to believe. Yeah, I'm going to be fair. Hey, I have a sense of honour, okay? My metagaming is for the purposes of the group. Honest. You mentioned the first D&D product you owned was the Player's Handbook Monster Manual box set. How was this product obtained? I purchased it new for myself. Think about the first D&D tabletop product you bought. Why did you buy that product? Hey, I like that. That was a good one. Here's all apply. Okay. There was a good promotion. There wasn't a promotion, I don't believe. I wanted to become a DM. Yes, I still do. I realise that I don't think it's as hard as I think the community has made it out to be by people who haven't DM'd as well, or don't frequently DM. I thought I was going to be a forever DM, to be honest. And honestly, I don't think I would mind that, to be honest. I think I would actually prefer, because it saves me having to roleplay that. I say I'm slowing down because I think because you got to roleplay for the NPCs. But hey, at least I get to be able to read the adventures without cheating or whatever, so that's good. I saw an ad for it. Yeah, I guess I saw it in a store. Yes, I started to get my own materials. I think that's implying that, like, yeah, you've played in a group and you want to get your own stuff. That's fine. It's like a convention. My friends recommended it to me. I bought it to share with my group. I don't have a group to collect. Yeah, to collect is another one as well. I'm an impulse spender and I hoard things, trying to wean myself off that. I started playing the game. I found the content interesting. Yeah, I can agree with that. Became available in my language. To read is essentially a big reason. Yeah, I'd say it became available in my language, but it's always been in English, so I don't really need to take that one. After that, after the first product, what kinds of product did you get next? I think all of. Oh no, not all of them, because I got that. Dice, absolutely. I've got myself the Waterdeep DM screen because I really like the artwork on it, and I want to see what's in a DM screen. And apparently, that one's one of the best ones. And yeah, there's quite nice information in there. Digital tools, yes. Roll20 subscription. Well, I bought credit for one DM who done such a good job, and I think I might do that for our current DM as well. Not as a bribe, but just to say thank you for all the games they've run for us, and hopefully then we can run them ad free, because it took like 20 seconds to load into the last session when I had to reload the page. Oh yes, I've also brought Adventures as well, yeah. I just realised this video is probably going to take an age to upload to YouTube, because it's in 1080p at 60 FPS. How fun! Recent D&D purchases. When was the last time you bought? Within the last month, easily. If the next question, oh no, it's okay. Where did you typically buy physical versions? Oh, they do them at Smiths. I knew the pronunciation for that before, and I've just completely forgotten it. I think it's Smiths. I think the Y throws people off, and I'm fairly certain it's Smiths. Smiths Toys. I didn't realise they sold D&D books. There is a Smiths near me. I may have to go there and buy myself a hardback, because I do like my hardbacks. Yeah, just thought it might be cheaper as well, because it's coming up to Black Friday, so might be taking a trip there. Yeah, so Target, Smith's Toys, bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, Waterstones. That's the only example of a bookstore they're going to get in the UK. So yes, did I buy a physical book from there? I don't believe I did. No. A retail chain store, so I haven't bought from those recently. A local hobby, game or comic store, no chance here. Amazon, no, but I have bought from them in the past. eBay, yes, absolutely. I don't know what Bol is. DM's Guild is the like drive-through RPG portal for D&D stuff. Bol, don't know what that is. I thought it was like Bella Lost Souls at first, but no, that's not it. Book Depository, I didn't realise it was a site. Game and GameStop. I didn't know Game sold D&D stuff, but it has been a while since I've actually spent any worthwhile amount of time in there. Yeah, ever since GameStation went away, I've really lost a lot of interest in like physical video game retail, except CEX, because they do, well, I say cheap games, cheaper, I guess. Well, yeah, I might see once coronavirus is over if it's safe to drop stuff at CEX again and maybe go into game again. Not overly pleased with the management, how they handled that as well. Like GameStop kept running. I think that they were the one store that kept running when they were told it's like against the law when lockdowns began. So that was fun. Over the past 6 months, where did you typically buy digital versions of officially 5th edition books? It would always be on D&D Beyond. 5th edition D&D books and products. I was going to say, yeah, because I was thinking like, oh well, what about like Dark Sun or Ravenloft books and things like that? I would get them from Drive-Thru RPG, but I've realised as well that there are adventures and stuff that I might want to get from Drive-Thru RPG. I think I've actually bought something on DTRPG. Yeah. So, are there any stores or sites you would like to buy official where they are currently aren't available? See, this isn't really the question I want to answer, because I want to say, yeah, Waterstones. But that's not what they're looking for. I would like to buy more books from Waterstones. I would like to buy more books from Game. But you're already selling this paltry amount. You're already selling the starter set there. You know? So, no, I can't think of anywhere else. I'd like for you to sell them at Subway, if I'm being honest. Or the convenience store up the road, or Tesco. But, I mean, chances are they probably do, and again, it's the starter set. In fact, you know what? I'm going to list some supermarkets here. Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, Morrison's. What else? I don't know if Safeway is still a thing, but we'll have them. Safeway. That's all I can think of. In fact, let's get rid of Safeway because I think that's being... Yeah, you know what? Those two are the only ones I can think that would actually stock them. I don't know if Morrison's is the kind of place that would have them, or Sainsbury's. I don't know. I think they seem to be more like food places. And of course I wouldn't know. So Tesco and Asda. Yeah, right. Which of the following best describes your experience with character creation? Oh, goody. I have never created my own character. Yeah, fact Chancellor. I have created my own PCs in D&D recently. Creating one every day, pal. At least occasionally. At least occasionally. What resources did you use to build your first character? I used the core rulebook and the box set. That's all I had back then. I may have watched a tutorial. And D&D Beyond. What resources do you currently use to build characters? I use the core rulebook. I use supplemental books. I have friends who are familiar with D&D. I watch tutorials for inspiration, etc. I look at web forums. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, oh, and of course D&D Beyond. Always on D&D Beyond. But yeah, I would be lost without D&D Beyond. I really wouldn't be creating as many characters as I do. It's only because of like things like fillable PDFs as well with Vampire the Masquerade. Like Mr. Gone, I believe, is the name of them. Is the person who does all those fillable PDFs for Vampire and other such games. I love them. Have you ever been a Dungeon Master? No, I have not. I'd like to be one day, but right now I don't have the confidence. I see, it's one of those things where it's like, the less you know about DMing, the less I knew about DMing, the more confident I was with it. And I think that's maybe one of the things as well, that if you know more than the players about D&D, even the slightest bit more, I think you sort of get filled with confidence. It's 2021 when I played, and again, the month was about then. How often have you played? I'd say at least once a month. Because while I have been playing at least once a week for the past few weeks now, I don't want to say that that's the average. I would rather be more realistic and say that every month we have had a session. Over the past 6 months, how many sessions of 5th edition D&D have you played per month on average? More than 6. Easily. Over the past 6 months, how long has your average 5th edition D&D session lasted? My session recaps, while they remain online, can attest to it being about 4 or 5 hours. So 4 to 6 hours, we'll say that. Choose before and during the COVID pandemic, how did you typically play a game with D&D? Right, well, none of these really. The fat chance of that, especially, well, no, not especially Adventurers League. I think that's really all that you can find where, near me. And the thing is, as well, I say that I don't want to discredit the UK entirely. There are ways to play D&D, but it's mostly going to be in people's houses, I think. I mean, you can go out to play D&D. There are groups that are run, but they run typically in an evening, and that's not the time I'm going to be going. I don't want to be out of my house really too late, or you'd have to go to someone else's house and things like that. And I wouldn't mind that so much, but yeah, no, I think I'm quite happy with virtual. Yeah, I can live with this, I think. However, our DM has actually said that they would like to maybe one day run some in-person sessions. That's awfully nice of them, but I think I'll be here. I think I'll still be here. So yeah, virtually friends, family, or store community, Zoom, Skype, Teams, etc. During COVID. Yeah, so that's Discord. So yep, that's the only one I can go for. So, with stores reopening and the loosening of social distancing, how do you think our tabletop frequency? Right, so basically not available for all of those except for one, which is at the bottom here. I don't think it's going to change all that much. I think we're all fine. I think we've all managed during and and out of lockdowns. So I think we're going to be all right. So, but I'm going to say I'm not sure. Yeah, about the same. I think I'll say until we know, because there doesn't seem to be any insecurity about whether or not we're going to be playing any more or less. So that's fine. How did the tabletop 19? How did the tabletop 19? How did the COVID-19 outbreak affect your tabletop Dungeons and Dragons play? I started playing during. What platform services do you use? I use Facebook. I have a drink, John. Calm down. I use Discord. I use Roll20. And that's about it. I am quite pleased to see that they're mentioning Foundry and Roll20 and these Tabletop Simulator. But there's also, like, I think they mentioned later on, like, above VTT, which is like one of the best ones that's out right now. So yeah, I'm glad that they've provided lots of different examples there. How many people, including you and the DM, are in the active groups you typically create for the edition? Right, okay. I had some trouble with this before, I'm going to have trouble now. So myself, Emil, Shoria, Eliza, Michaela, Ellie, 6. Is that your final answer, John? I think it is 6. Let's just go again. Me, Emil, Shoria, Eliza, Ellie, okay, yeah, right. 6. How many different people do you currently play D&D with in total? Five. If I'm discounting myself. I am terrible at math. Do you know any kids of the age of 30, under the age of 13, who play 5th edition D&D? No. No. I don't know that many children to begin with. It's an oddly specific question, but okay. I think that's the age limit, though. I think it's like, yeah, like between 12 and 99. If you're over 100, you can't play D&D. Ha ha ha. Have you ever personally taught or helped teach someone to play 5th edition D&D? No, not. Why is not sure grayed out? I've been a bit suspicious of that. Why some of these answers are grayed out? No. No, I haven't. I would like to teach my partner how to play. And I would actually like to be a D&D tutor. But in order to do that, you got to learn how to DM and things like that, haven't you? So, yeah. Which of the following 5th edition core rulebooks have you bought? I have bought a physical copy of the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual, and I own all of those as well. Why can't the firearm rules just be in the Player's Handbook? Never mind, eh? Which of the following 5th edition box sets have you bought? I have bought the starter set, the Essentials kit. I will one day get the Stranger Things kit, because I have a fetish for boxes, and I love my boxes on my wall, on my shelf. But I'm actually trying to purge some boxes as well, so maybe an idea. I didn't realise that Dungeons and Dragons versus Rick and Morty was a box set. Huh. Curse of Strahd revamped. I did want this one initially. I instead settled for the older hardback, which I understand has like a lot of the old controversial themes in it. But yeah, I wanted revamped. But the box is a lot bigger than you imagine it to be, from what I understand. And apparently it's like bigger than the starter set boxes. So I decided against it, and I don't really want to have to reaccommodate my shelves just for this one game. So, yeah. Which of the following 5th edition D&D Avengers have you bought? I don't think oh, yes. Curse of Strahd. I've bought a physical copy. Tomb of Annihilation. Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I wouldn't mind Ghost of Saltmarsh. Sort of naval one from what I understand. And I was going to get Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, but I decided against it because I was going to play Baldur's Gate 3 first, which requires me to complete Baldur's Gate 2. I realise I can't import my character from Baldur's Gate 2, but still. Which of the following DNA? Oh, God almighty. Okay, which ones have I bought? Right. I am going to consider the ones that I've bought fully, not supplement, not little bits of it, like races, backgrounds, feats, and spells. So, I have Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Is that it? Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide as well. No, that's the Mythic Odysseys. Right. I think that's everything. Accessories. I was tempted to get the Baldur's Gate dice and miscellany. I'd rather wait until I bought the adventure or someone else has the adventure. Even then, it's probably more used to DMs, but still. Dungeon Master's screen. Dungeon Kit. Hang on a second. Dungeon Master's screen. Yeah, so they have the Dungeon Master's screen Dungeon Kit. I don't know what that is, but they don't mention any other DM screens because I've got the Waterdeep one. Dear me. Anyway, tactical maps. I do want the tactical maps just to help our DM out, but I might have to get those on Roll20. I was tempted to get some miniatures, but I already have my Fleet Admiral Seahorn mini from World of Warcraft minis, so that's my Minotaur mini sorted. So I don't need any more. And even then I can go on Hero Forge and have the specific ones made for not much more, actually. I don't know if they'd be any better quality. I doubt it, but mind you, pre-painted miniatures aren't really that good quality. Like the miniatures of the World of Warcraft miniatures game is testament to that, really. No, I'm not going to go through every single unofficial accessory I bought, being notebooks and dice. So, yeah. How many people used... okay, I don't know exactly. I have the Master subscription, but then so does one of our DMs, and she's sharing way more books. So, I don't know. I think it's... I'm going to say 3 players, because I know of 2 that own them already. And even then, they may have used backgrounds and feats and all that for the player's handbook. So yeah, I don't know. Why did you purchase the D&D starter set? To learn how to play D&D, of course, to add to my collection, to share with my group, to get an introductory adventure. Absolutely, and I stand by the fact that the Lost Man of Phandelver is a really good adventure so far. I mean, I've read through the whole thing cover to cover. I had nothing else better to do during coronavirus. Why did you purchase the D&D Essentials kit? To learn how to play D&D, to add to my collection, to get an introductory adventure. Would you say the following? I'd say I can't speak for Essentials kit, so I'll just say yes to that one because I don't think you have to answer all the questions. When buying a D&D box set, how important is it for the product to include the following? Character sheets, very important. Blank or pre-written. I want these paper sheets. Or I want pre-written characters and things like that. The poster map, if it's two-sided, so if it's not double-sided. I own Curse of Strahd, the Curse of Strahd Adventure. I don't think I've torn the map out. No, I don't think I've torn the map out yet. But from what I gather, it's a double-sided map. It's going to be really annoying. I know I'm only playing virtual, but come on. And I know it's better for the environment to have it double-sided. I know it's probably cheaper for wizards as well, but it can't be that more expensive, surely. And you don't tell me that they have to pass the costs on to the consumer. What, 5 extra p? Fine. Reference cards, conditions, initiative trackers, magic items. These aren't really important to me. Like, this was something that sort of bulked up the cost of the starter set, which I probably will review once I finish the Dragon of Icespire Peak Adventure. But yeah, a lot of the stuff in that box is really tacky, and it sort of comes off as low quality, even though it isn't. Like, the box to hold the conditions and then like all the cards and things like that, it's like it's folded paper, not like a box of the same cardboard quality as the Essentials kit box is made out of, the outer box. Anyway, so no, it's no, I'd say not important. I'd say write it down. You don't need no, I'll say slightly important because I think people like that, I can't remember who said it, like Antoine Saint d'Exbury or whatever his name is. That was the Yorkshire way of pronouncing someone's name. I do apologise. Where it said, like, perfection is achieved not when you've when you've nothing left to add, but when you've nothing left to take away. If the conditions in initiative trackers and magic item cards get in the way of the gameplay, if it slows things down and people can't track it as opposed to just writing it down, they lose them. Like, this happens all the time in Critical Role. Like, people are losing their magic item cards and things like that. And just write it down in your character sheet. You know, I realise their character sheets are probably dog-eared and, you know, after years of play and whatnot. But yeah, if they, you know, it's just something else that just slows the game down if people lose them or say, oh, I've got it, I just can't find it. It's like with dice towers and things like that, you know, or props, you know. It only if it adds to the game should you have it, and that's why I'm saying this is slightly important rather than not at all important, because some people might like that, some people may find that important, and sometimes I might want those. I might think it's cool to be given a little card, you know, rather than be told right on any character sheet you've got a new sword. Great. Polyhedral dice. Of course, this one's important. Like. For the starter set, yes, absolutely. And if you're calling it an Essentials kit rather than just the Dragon of Icespire kit box, Dragon of Icespire Peak, not Dragon of Icespire kit, I do apologise. If you're calling it an Essentials box, then therefore you would have the bare Essentials. You need dice to play D&D. I mean, you probably could play it without, but that's essentially how the game is played, with dice. Have the polyhedral dice, and have them good quality as well. I'm not asking for, like, craps dice, or I'm not looking for casino dice. I am just wanting some decent dice. Don't have to be metal either. Just, you know, with some bit of sharpness on the edges, please. I will say this, though. The D&D starter set dice are really nice, though. They are nice and clear. Yeah? Because you can get all manner of fancy dice. Like Q Workshop do really fancy dice. But good luck reading them at a distance. Which of the following 5th edition D&D core rulebooks have you used? I have used that, and I have, but I haven't really read. Oh, I've read the Monster Manual, but yeah, but that's really about it. Which of the following 5th edition book sets have you used? I'm currently playing that one. I've read only a little bit of that one. It's open, put it that way. Ghost of Strahd revamped. I have the Tarokka deck as well. That's another thing. They didn't mention the Tarokka deck earlier with the accessories, I don't think. Where they were saying, like, oh, you've got, like, the Baldur's Gate dice and miscellany. Anyway, which of the following 5th edition adventures have you used? That's another thought as well. Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty. If that's a box set, it isn't in Waterstones. That's another thing that they're missing as well. Which of the following 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons adventures have you used? I haven't used them myself, but I have read Curse of Strahd. I have read, oh, it's not there, Lost Mine of Phandelver. They don't have the adventures there, so I assume these are talking about the books. Not to mention as well, the Candlekeep Mysteries and Tales from the Yawning Portal. These are anthologies. These have multiple adventures in them, whereas the rest of them are like big single adventures or whatever. So yeah, so that's really the only one I've read. Which of the following D&D supplements have you used? I've only used bits of them, so I'm only going to count the ones that I own and have used. So once again, Sword Coast Adventures Guide, Texture Guide to Everything. Excuse me, and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. If I had to go through every single book that I've taken bits out of for D&D Beyond, with the microtransactional stuff, I wouldn't know where to start. I wouldn't know which content I've used. So I'll just say that. Which of the following 5th edition D&D accessories have you used? Right, I'm looking for that Curse of Strahd thing now. Nope, it's not there. I wouldn't even consider it, like, officially licensed spellbook cards. That's not really what it is. I didn't know the Witchlight Carnival had dice and miscellany. That's quite cool. No, I haven't used any of those, and I'm not going to write them down. How did you use the following products? I use the starter set to learn how to play D&D. I will use the starter set to teach someone else how to play D&D. Play with your existing D&D group. People who don't. Yeah, I'll just say those two. That's it. Oh, other. I'll say collect. Oops, I just. And there we are, collect. How likely would you be to recommend the following products to someone? I would be very likely to recommend the starter set. I think it's a fantastic adventure. I only really have 2 complaints, but I can't say those. Because if my players are watching this, then I'll spoil it for them. I don't want to do that any more than I already have. So, how important are the following to you when deciding to buy a D&D book? Character backgrounds, very important. Character races, very important. Character classes, very important. Subclasses, very important. Feats, very important. Spells, very important. Magic items, slightly important. Monsters, slightly important. Adventures, oh yes, very important. Lore and world information, very important. Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, it's this question. I really don't want to answer this one, so I'm going to skip right past this one. So I use GBP. I am not going to fill in those boxes because it will come up with an amount. Like so. 20. Which is what I answered last time. So now. I'm not going to fill in that because that's it's got a horrific amount of money that I've put into D&D. For what little I've actually played as well. I enjoy reading the books. They provide a value for money for that regard, but I don't really want to fill that in. In the past 6 months, have you purchased any D&D merchandise? I can't think of any at all, and I am getting back into my gaming merch. But no. Which of the following D&D digital games have you ever played? I have not played Baldur's Gate 3. I have played Baldur's Gate, the previous versions though. Dark Alliance, apparently, no, I haven't played it. Apparently it's not all that good though. Dungeons and Dragons Online, I've only played for 5 minutes, so I'm not going to count it. Icewind Dale, I'm going to add there. In fact, you know, I will count it because there's some other games I want to mention as well. Idle, Champions of the Forgotten Realms, I have not played. Lords of Waterdeep, I've not played. Neverwinter, same, only a couple of minutes. I might get into that again actually, because I think that uses the same system as D&D to calculate damage and such. I hope it does. I hate video games and the way they calculate damage. Honestly, like, THAC0 is better than any video game calculation system. Have you seen the Fallout damage equation? It's a nightmare. Neverwinter Nights, I've almost completed it. Planescape Torment. I've played some of it. I'm a long way off from completing it. I think I'm only like level 4 or something. But I don't think I'm even that far in. But I'm enjoying the game. Very much so. Sword Coast Legends, I have played. I'm genuinely surprised they've mentioned Sword Coast Legends, because that's a game that I think Wizards were quick to want to forget about. No longer available on Steam, and it was all right. But for some reason, it caused it used massive CPU usage. I have no idea why. It caused my laptop to overheat, and it's like a gaming one as well that can survive Doom on high-ish settings at 60 FPS. So. What was going there? Eye of the Beholder. Yes, this was one as well. You can get some of the old D&D games on GOG, and I think they go back to like 2nd edition and even 1st edition basic D&D. So yeah, so I've just put that one there. Do you follow D&D news and community on YouTube? I do. Official homepage, not as much as D&D Beyond. I do go on Reddit indeed. Dragon Plus. I might download that. Because I like the old Dragon magazine. I like old video game magazines and stuff like that. So I like the old fanzines and things like that for D&D. Discord, I do. Yeah, that's where Alt Roll is. Twitter, not as much. Ian World. Yes, that's how I came to know of the Level Up 5th edition publication. Facebook, yes. In a typical week, how many hours? Oh god, it's a lot. I'm going to say that many. It would be more if I didn't have to get up and pace around because of Lady ADHD. Which of the following English D&D products, live streams, or video channels do you follow? See, I don't know any of these except Critical Role. So, which family members, if any, played D&D? Don't play with any family. I'd like to, but it's like sword and sorcery isn't really my dad's thing. I think he's into sci-fi, but. Apparently, no, he doesn't like it. Have you ever heard of D&D? I have heard of it. Have you ever played it? No. Can't. It's a shame as well. There's no, not for the times that I'm available for. How likely is it that you would recommend D&D to someone else? I have a lot of complaints about D&D 5th edition, but you know what? It's the game I want to play on a Saturday. It's that I in theory really like Pathfinder, but when it comes to actually playing it, no. I think what I like is I like creating characters. What I like is playing Pathfinder the video game. Same with Vampire. It's like I love Vampire, I love all the lore and the setting and all that, but I cannot roleplay to save my life. So D&D it is. It's extremely likely that I would recommend it. You will be able to get... Like, it's the game that you're going to get a group for. It's the game you're going to get a group for. It's a game that you can find in store shelves. You can't find a lot of it in store shelves, I grant you, but you can find it. You can go into Waterstones and you can see plentiful boxes of it there. You will know someone who plays D&D out of the blue, and you can make a friend as well. The D&D players are in the most likely places. Right. Oh, I don't think I have. Right. No. I was trying to go through the alphabet and letters and just think, it's going to trigger that whole box of feedback. Because I wrote a paragraph before, so I'll just say that it is the game you will that players will find a group for, whether or not they have a better system they prefer. I've sort of said, really, that because I'm quite jaded having read the material and not played a whole lot for years, that, like, call it, like, the world's second best role-playing game doesn't quite have the same ring to it, so that's why Wizards don't put it on the box. Do you feel D&D is on its way up and growing in strength, holding its ground, or it's pretty consistent, or it's on its way down and losing the momentum? Critical Role have just begun their third campaign. I'd say it's on its way up. Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, down in quality, yes. But down in players, I think it's going up. Yeah, there's more material coming out. There's talk of a new revision, which I think is going to be 5.25, let alone 5.5 or even 6th edition in 2024. The Boo and Minsk book that was for charity, like, has so many typos and errors. I haven't seen it for myself. I'm almost tempted to buy it myself just to see how bad it is. I'm not even that big a fan of Minsk and Boo personally, but still. Okay, Boo I'm a fan of, and I guess Mink's relation to him, but that's really it. Do you feel I'd say it's holding its ground. I'm not going to be so pessimistic as to say it's dying. God knows, like, D&D will probably always be the biggest game. It's, once more, I have to compare it to World of Warcraft, where it's like, the only thing that can kill D&D is D&D itself. There ain't going to be another RPG that just comes along and blows out of the water. It's because of its own ineptitude, which it has plenty of. It's run by Wizards of the Coast, after all, and Hasbro, that it will crumble. But not before everyone else. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV was a wildcard to World of Warcraft, but it was like a perfect storm of rubbish that was going on with World of Warcraft. Considering each of the following, do you think each is on its own way growing its strength, holding its ground, are pretty consistent? D&D Beyond, I don't know. I'd say it's holding its ground. It has more features on the way. I think it's going to try and be its own tabletop with the encounter builder and all this kind of stuff going on. So, but until that actually comes to reality, people are still going to use Roll20. Now, I have heard that Roll20 has had a lot of controversy, and there are other much better tabletop services that are rising up. So I'm going to say it's on its way down. And Fantasy Grounds, finally, I think Fantasy Grounds is going to do Fantasy Grounds. It's going to be fine. It's just going to carry on doing what it's doing. It's something that people are already invested in. It's already a brand people know. I have seen mixed reviews for the Unity version, from what I understand, but I can't really speak to them. Which of the following games have you ever played? Tabletop miniatures only once. Greedfall, I have played. Elder Scrolls, I have played. Ghost of Tsushima, I haven't. Monster Hunter, I have played. Middle-earth, Shadow of War, I prefer Shadow of Mordor. Dragon Age, I have played. Divinity Original Sin, The Dark Eye. I know of one Dark Eye game, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. Dark Souls, I'll put that for currently playing, and I am currently playing The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I might even play Morrow Oblivion, the mod that turns Oblivion into like a Morrowind mod, which is really cool. Magic the Gathering, I have played the video game. Duels of the Planeswalker as well, I think it was on original Xbox as well. I really enjoyed that. Fallout, including the CRPGs, Final Fantasy, yes, in fact I'll say I'm currently playing that. Mass Effect I have played, Wasteland 3 I have played, Wasteland 2, Hearthstone I have played, World of Warcraft I have played, Destiny, Pathfinder Kingmaker. I'm currently playing an alchemist, a lawful evil alchemist by the name of Arbellis in that. Dragon Quest 11. Why 11 specifically, I don't know. There's quite a few other Dragon Quest games, I do apologise. Pillars of Eternity I have played, The Witcher I have played, and Warhammer video games. Final Liberation, Epic 40k, just to die for. But Mark of Chaos is my favourite. I can't get out my collector's edition of that game to show you, but it's awesome. Green is main! Yeah, absolutely my favourite is Mark of Chaos. I really must complete that so I can uninstall it off my hard drive. Or so I can play the other 3 armies, however many there are. Assassin's Creed I have played. I think that's just about all of them. Yeah, Greedfall was okay, but it's like all of the Spiders games where it's 2/3 too long. So this game was 60 hours too long, and it could have ended 20 hours in and it'd be fine. What are your favourite games that you're currently playing? The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. It wasn't Final Fantasy. Dark Souls and Pathfinder Kingmaker. In fact, you know what? That one's going at the top. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the others just so I hope. It's not going to do anything, but I hope that they look at that feedback and say we need to make our game more like Pathfinder. We need to have a proper alchemist class. I'm just going myself as a man. Thank you for taking part in our survey. Your response is very important to us. I most certainly hope it is. So, that's my feedback given. That's the Sword of the Ember Knight there. Mentioned that we did. Yes, I'm writing my review on that. So yeah, that's the session, the survey over. I do apologise for how long this took, but I thought I'd give a proper look. I don't even know if this video is going to get uploaded. Because of how long it is, and at 1080p I normally film at 720, so that's probably going to make this significantly harder to upload. So yes, but we shall see. Thank you ever so much for watching, take care, and yes, do fill in the survey as well. There will be a link in the description below, in multiple languages as well, as you can see here. And yeah, that'll be good, because yeah, I don't think these surveys really do a whole lot, but I like filling them in. I like to feel like, because the thing is that if you don't make your opinions known, then how are they going to know to improve the game? So they might not be listening to my feedback personally, but if it goes to making D&D a better game, or more realistically the game that I would prefer, then so be it. I'd rather fill in the survey. So yes, so thank you ever so much for watching, take care, and this has been your #1 source for #2 surveys, I guess. Now for now.